I'm David Caputo, a professor of political science at Pace University in New York City, and I'd like to welcome you to a MOOC lecture on our series called Road to the White House. Today I'm going to be talking about how the Republican Party allocates delegates to the different states. That there are 2,472 Republican delegates to be selected to go to the convention in July. That means in order to get the Republican nomination, you need 1,237, or a majority of the 2,472. But the interesting question becomes, how do the Republicans allocate their delegates by state? And their formula is very different from the formula used by the Democrats, and that'll be in the next lecture. So let me start with the Republicans. First of all, they determine what they call base delegates. And base delegates are as follows. Each state gets 5 delegates for each U.S. senator that they have. Each state has 2 senators, therefore each state gets 10 base delegates. Then they also get 3 delegates for each congressional district that they have. So if a state has 10 congressional districts, they would get 3 times 10 would be 30. In addition, the state party chair, the national committee woman, and the national committee man, appointments to those two committees, are also part of the delegation. So that's how you get the base. You get 5 for each Senate seat, 10, plus 3 for each House seat that you have. Then you also get the 3 extra. Okay? Now, there are also what are called bonus delegates. Okay? And what the Republicans attempt to do with this is they attempt to reward states that have a history of being more strongly Republican in the various elections. So, for the bonus delegates, okay, you get bonus delegates, 1 for each U.S. senator that you have, 1 that's a Republican, 1 if your governor is Republican. You get 1 if the congressional delegation, meaning if you have, let's say, 10 seats and 6 of those members are Republicans, you get an additional. Then, very interestingly, they go down to the state legislature. If your party, if the Republican Party, controls 1 house of the state legislature, you get 1 additional delegate. As you control both houses, you get 2 additional delegates. Okay? Then there's also another way that they do their bonus delegates. Your state has to have voted Republican in the 2012 presidential election. If you do, then there's a formula which says, I'll paraphrase it, it's 4.5 plus 60% of the 2012 Electoral College delegates. And if there are fractions, then you round up. So for instance, I thought perhaps one way to make this come to life a little easier is let's look at New York, the state of New York. Now New York, and I'm going to also look at the state of Texas, almost polar opposites. One as blue a state as you can get, and one as red a state as you can get. Okay? But both very large and important states. All right, so for New York, in terms of delegates to the Republican convention, just go down the various steps. First, you get 10 at large because you have 2 senators. Okay? You get 27 congressional districts, and for each congressional district, 3. That gives you a total of 81, and then there's 3 party leaders. Okay? Now you get, interestingly, you don't get to be involved with the 4.5 bonus because you did not carry the state for Governor Romney in the last, in 2012. Okay? The state went Democratic. So New York misses out, the New York Republicans miss out on that. Okay? So they do get 1 additional bonus. There's no U.S. senator who's a Republican. There's no Republican governor. They do not control the congressional delegation, but they do control 1 house of the state legislature. The state Senate is, in fact, Republican, so they get 1 bonus delegate for that. When you add all of this up, 10 at large, 81 from the congressional districts, 3 from the party leaders, 1 because they control the state legislature, control the Senate. That gives them 95 total delegates to the Republican convention. Okay? All right, now let's look at Texas for a second. Now remember, as I said, Texas is a very red state, so it's going to get rewarded with an increased number of delegates. So you get 10 at large, okay, 5 for each senator. You have 36 congressional districts, it gives you 108. You have 3 party leaders, okay, and then you get to apply the formula in Texas. Why? Because it voted Republican in 2012 for president. So you take 4.5 plus 0.6 of 38, which is 4.5 plus 22.8, gives you 27.3. You round up in this case. The Republicans round up at this stage, which gives you 28. Okay. Then you get 1 for having a Republican governor. You get 2 because you have 2 Republican senators. You get 1 because you control the House, the majority of the 36 congressional seats are in fact Republican, so you get 1 for that. Plus you get 1 because you control each house of the legislature. So when you add all of those together, you have the 10, the 108, the 3, the 28, and then the bonus, you end up with 155. So just compare that, 155 for the state of Texas, 95 for New York. The difference largely coming because of the bonus rules. So what the Republicans are attempting to do is reward state parties that have been successful in elections and make sure that they have a larger say at the conventions. All right. Now, the Republicans also give delegates to non-states. They give 6 to American Samoa, even though no presidential vote is taken there. They give 16 to the District of Columbia. Remember, the District of Columbia does vote for president. 3 electoral college votes. They give 6 to Guam, 6 to Northern Marianas, 20 to Puerto Rico, and 6 to Virgin Islands. All of these, plus the various formulas, will end up at the end adding up to 22,472 delegates. Now, we'll talk later about how those are the delegates assigned to the state. We'll talk later about how those delegates are selected so that you have a fuller understanding. But I think the important point here is that the Republican convention is smaller in terms of total numbers. And secondly, the Republicans reward states that are more heavily Republican and at a higher percentage possibility. Now, some people would argue that makes sense. Other people argue it doesn't, because what it means is that states who may be approaching some sort of breakthrough in terms of being able to carry their elections are not going to get as full a set of hearings because and representation because of the numbers. So in any case, when were these decided? These are decided not by state law. They're decided by the Republican National Committee. And when they put out their call to convention, they explain how they're allocating the delegates per state. So this is important. It's important to keep in mind as we go forward. So if you're a Republican candidate for the nomination, you need 1,237 delegates in order to secure it. And that's what we're going to be covering as we go through the rest of the semester. Thank you.